day, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to be back here at the GCFF NAI 500 virtual conference. As Gilbert mentioned, my name is Scott Powell. I'm the head of investor relations and the U.S. Chief Financial Officer for VolitionRx Limited. We are traded on the NYSE American, ticker VNRX. I would like to point you to our forward-looking statements and disclaimer slide, just a reminder that I'll be making some forward-looking statements during today's presentation, which may or may not materialize in the future. A little bit about Volition. We are an epigenetics company. We are developing diagnostic tests to screen for different disease states, both oncology and non-oncology based disease states in humans and in animals. As you can see here, there are 5 pillars within Volition. I'm going to focus most of this presentation on 2, NucleoVet in the center, which is commercial stage now. This is our program in animal health. We have a commercial blood test to screen for cancer in canines. And NucleoNets, that's our first real movement into non-oncology based disease states in humans. And I'll talk a little bit about that after I talk about NucleoVet. So starting with NucleoVet, the product is called the NucleoVet Cancer Screening Test. As you can see from here, there are over 80 million canines in the United States alone. 6 million of those canines are diagnosed with cancer annually. The problem is that almost all of those canines are diagnosed with cancer because they're symptomatic first. So they're sick first, they go to the vet, and then it's found out that they have cancer, which is causing the underlying symptoms. And generally, it's too late for that canine because once the canine is symptomatic, it's likely a later stage cancer, stage 3 or stage 4, that's probably metastasized to other organs. There is currently no asymptomatic screening of canines. So currently, healthy canines in the United States and globally do not get screened for cancer. Why? Because it's too expensive, too invasive, and there's too much risk to the canine, because the only confirmatory tests for cancer are imaging technologies, which potentially subject the canine to radiation, and biopsies, which are surgical procedures whereby they take a tissue sample from one or more organs. In either case, the animal has to be given anesthesia. And just like in humans, certain animals suffer adverse reactions or events to the administration of anesthesia. So for these reasons, people don't take their canines to the vet for a wellness check and ask for their healthy canine to be given x-rays and full body CAT scans and biopsies. But it's too expensive. It could cost thousands of dollars. It's too invasive. There's risk to the canine from radiation exposure, infection from surgery, complications from surgery, internal bleeding, and from the administration of anesthesia. So it's simply not done. And now for the first time, with the launch of our blood test, which we now have 4 licensing deals signed for this blood test from Volition, canine owners in the United States and globally will finally be able to take their canine in for a wellness check and have the canine screened for cancer with a simple, accurate blood test like ours, priced at about $50 to $75 US. So a very palatable price point for most canine owners. The market is substantial. The age at which most canine breeds would begin to get screened for cancer is age 7. Certain breeds are predisposed to cancer under age 7, at age 4, age 5, age 6. So out of the 80 million canines in the US alone, it's probably 30 or 35 million of those canines that would be candidates for our blood test. So a significant addressable market for Volition. We're also receiving up to $10 or $11 per test that is administered. We have signed 4 licensing deals, one with Texas A&M University, where the blood test was developed and the clinical studies were run, one with Sage Healthcare in Singapore. We signed a significant licensing deal in March of this year with the Heska Corporation. It was a $28 million licensing deal. 10 million was received by Volition up front in March, another 18 million upon certain milestones being achieved. And then the 4th licensing deal was signed about 3 weeks ago with an undisclosed counterparty, and we'll be discussing that, and our counterparty will be discussing that more in the coming months. So very excited about these licensing deals. They're bringing in non-dilutive funding to Volition and should start to generate significant revenue for us beginning next year and for many years beyond. So we're really excited about this commercial opportunity in animal health. And we're really solving a problem, that is getting these canines screened asymptomatically means being able to catch more of these cancers in these canines earlier while it's still a localized cancer and probably has not metastasized or spread to other organs, thereby saving canine lives, also pain and suffering, and also saving money to the healthcare system from all the money that's spent treating most canines diagnosed with cancer with late stage cancer. And then I might, here's a little bit on the Heska deal that I mentioned. I should note that we gave Heska exclusivity on their point of care technology, and we did not give exclusivity on their laboratory testing analysis for canines. So a canine's blood sample can be analyzed in one of 2 ways. So the blood sample is taken from the canine, the blood is spun, plasma and serum are separated, the blood sample is frozen. It can then be shipped to a lab for analysis, or instead of being frozen, it can be analyzed through a point of care system. Heska has a popular point of care system called the Element I+. So we cannot sign a licensing deal with any other company that has a point of care technology, but we can with companies that run their tests through reference labs. And you can see some of the terms of the deal here. So an additional 13 million of the 18 we expect in the first half of next year when Heska launches through their point of care technology, and when they also launch for monitoring purposes to monitor canines that have cancer to see if their nucleosome level is declining while they're going for treatment for cancer. So very excited about this opportunity, our first commercial product. And as you can see here, hopefully signing more supply and distribution agreements. We want to penetrate the US market, penetrate the global market, and obviously generate significant revenue for Volition. Our cost of goods is under $1, and we're receiving up to $10 for each blood test that our partners sell. And then if we turn to NucleoNets, NETs is an acronym for neutrophil extracellular traps. And as you can see from this slide, NETs are your body's first immune response, or one of its first immune responses to an infection, bacteria, an invading pathogen or virus. And as you can see from the diagram on the right side of your screen, what happens is when your body's infected with a pathogen, your white blood cells migrate to the infection site and they inject neutrophil extracellular traps into your bloodstream. And as you can see here, these look like spider webs, look like nets, and they contain cytotoxic proteins. And the objective is for these nets to envelop the invading bacteria or virus and neutralize it through these cytotoxic proteins. Now, for reasons unknown, in certain individuals, especially those infected with COVID-19 or sepsis, in some cases, the body overproduces these nets, and the overproduction of the cytotoxic proteins can cause shock, can cause organ failure, can cause complications, and ultimately can cause death. It's the cytokine storm that we all heard about during COVID-19. And that's documented a little bit here. And as you can see, as I mentioned in the bottom bullet point, sepsis and severe COVID-19 are caused by excessive production of nets. So what do we know? What we know so far is that quantity of nets in a person's blood sample is directly correlated to disease severity. What I mean by that is those individuals with very low levels of nets in their blood sample, 50 or 100 nanograms per microliter, are asymptomatic from COVID-19 or sepsis infection. Those with 10,000 nanograms per microliter had moderate symptoms, and those with 21,000 nanograms per microliter had very severe symptoms. In fact, two of those patients with 21,000 nanograms per microliter died died from COVID-19 during the study. So we know there's a direct correlation between quantity and disease severity. What we don't know is how soon after the body overinjects nets into your bloodstream do you get seriously ill from COVID-19 or sepsis. And that's what we're studying right now. We do know that our blood test quantifies the amount of nets in a person's bloodstream with over 99% accuracy. So we have a very accurate measurement tool to quantify nets in a person's blood sample. We're running longitudinal studies now in the UK and in some top hospitals in London to determine how soon does a patient get sick after the overinjection of nets. So if they get sick within minutes or hours, there's not much we can do for them. But if it takes 12 hours or 24 or 36 hours for a person to get really sick after the spike in nets, there's a window of opportunity. And that's what we're studying right now to see how much of a lag time there is. If there is a significant lag time, our blood test would likely be administered multiple times a day during the infection period to monitor. And if there's a major spike in nets from a person infected with COVID-19 or sepsis, and we know there's a 12 or 24-hour lag, there's a chance to intervene and give that person medical resources so that the body can be prepped or primed to handle the severe reaction to the disease, and also to help that person cope with the severe illness that's about to come, versus the way it happens right now. A person gets really sick and then is treated. This information from our blood test will allow for a person to be flagged as about to get really sick, begin treatment prior to severe illness, thereby, again, reducing mortality and morbidity rates. And then I'll just finish up on our financials and then open it up to some questions. And I'll mention our IP. We have very strong intellectual property protection, 12 US patents granted, 15 European patents granted, over 100 patents pending globally. And then just to wrap up on financials, again, our ticker is VNRX on the NYSE American Stock Exchange. Market cap has hovered between 75 million and 400 million. It's been a little bit volatile over the past couple of years, given everything that's been happening in the US economy and globally. 52-week range is a bit lower than that now, burning a little over 2 million per month. Cash on hand is a little bit lower than that number right now. But remember, we are expecting 13 million in non-dilutive capital being injected into the company from the HESCA payments in the first half of next year. Very clean capital structure, strong insider ownership. We own about 15 or 16% of the company, the management team and the board. Institutions have about 33%. We have only common shares out and stock options for management, no warrants, no convertible debt, no preferred, no equity lines, really clean cap structure, strong insider ownership. Very nice research coverage. We have 5 banks, 5 research analysts covering us: Cantor Fitzgerald, Maxim, Benchmark, Aegis Capital, and Zacks. Our website is volition.com. And hopefully all of you will continue following our story, again, at www.volition.com. You can sign up for email alerts at the bottom of our website, and there's a lot of good information about our science and technology, and some other good interviews with members of senior management, as well as our science team. So thank you all for your time and attention today. And Gilbert, I'd be happy to take any questions from the audience.
Sure, Scott. There's a few ones that we have collected before. The first one is asking, what is the process now for dogs and animals getting treated for cancer? How early and accurate can you diagnose compared to any other current methods?
Right. The most, as I mentioned earlier, unfortunately, most canines are diagnosed because they're sick first. And just like in humans, if you're sick and the causal factor is an underlying cancer, that means it's late stage. Generally, it's a stage 3 or stage 4. Your options are much fewer because the tumor could be large. It could be difficult to remove the tumor. The cancer could have spread to other organs, creating issues with more than one particular organ. So just like in human health with canines, if we can get canines screened earlier, we'll catch the cancers at an earlier stage. The more treatable at that stage, the tumors are smaller. And also the canine's immune system is much stronger. When you have say a 13 or 14-year-old canine that has cancer, its immune system is really weakened. Therefore, drugs, surgeries, other treatments aren't as effective because the immune system is weakened. So there are a number of advantages to getting canines screened early. We definitely save a lot of lives and a lot of pain and suffering.
Great. So the next one, what will be your main focus in 2023? What's your main focus?
Main focus will be commercializing the veterinary blood test with our 4 partners. So really moving that forward so that we can begin to ramp sales. Also completing the longitudinal studies in the UK so that we can move our NucleoSomes product to market. I should note that we have already CE marked our blood test for NucleoSomes in Europe. So once we have clinical data, assuming the data shows efficacy and shows that time lag, we could then launch right away in Europe because we're already cleared for sale. So those are the main areas of focus for next year, and then filing more patents and developing additional technologies, and then moving some of the other human cancers forward in the clinic.
And there's one question from Derek, and he's asking, when will you need more capital by the end of next year, or how's the capital going?
Well, we have a pretty good position. We announced earnings this morning. We finished the quarter with just under 17 million in cash. We're burning, as you can see, about 25 million per year. So we are less than 1 year's worth of cash, but we have the 13 million in expected non-dilutive milestone payments coming from Heska in the first half of next year, plus any revenue that's generated. So you can do the math with 30 or 35 million canines that are candidates for our blood test in just the US alone. Getting up to $10 per test could be very substantial revenue for us. It won't all come next year, obviously. It'll be a build over several years. So we're in a comfortable cash position. Having said that, I think if the market gets better, as our last presenter said, what biotech, what healthcare company stock hasn't dropped significantly in 2022. If we start to see an improvement in the macro environment, if our stock goes back up based upon revenue, milestone payments, and our stock is back up at a high price, we probably would conduct a secondary offering at a much higher share price than here. And that would just accelerate our ability to bring additional products through the clinic and to the marketplace, and additionally shore up our competitive advantages.
Thank you, Scott, for addressing these questions. Thank you for your time here with us today.
You're very welcome, Gilbert. Thank you for having Volition back, and thanks to all the listeners today. Appreciate your time and attention.